used to buy a lot of frozen dough. We set it out and bake it when we were having spaghetti or something. But we ran into a problem because the dough we were getting said you were supposed to let it rise for 6 hours. Well, that seems reasonable. The problem was none of us worked for 6 hours. All of us worked for 8 hours or were gone for 9. So we'd set it out first thing in the morning, and by the time we got home, it was taking over the kitchen. It didn't say, oh, the 6 hours are up, I'll stop now. It just kept going. That's why in Galatians, Paul's writing to the church at Galatia, and he says, as a warning, he says, a little yeast works through the whole batch of dough. And what he's saying is, that dough, it doesn't stop. That yeast, it doesn't. It keeps coming. So he's talking not about good things, like sometimes they use yeast to refer to the church. He's talking about bad things. It was bad habits that the people had, and maybe a sin, maybe just laziness and complacency. And they think they can control that. We think we can control that. But there was a number of years ago, we were living starting our first ministry, and there was a hurricane came through, and it knocked out power for a few days. And I remember when I finally got around to opening the freezer, there was all that frozen dough, and it was ready to come out. It was ready to take over the house. It was coming, and it was raising an incredible stink. Because the yeast just keeps coming. It's almost like a horror movie, Attack of the Frozen Yeast. And so in your life, is there a little sin that you kind of, it's little. Is there a bad habit? Is there some laziness? Is there some complacency in your life? Well, it's time to nip that in the bud. It's time to take that out. Because the yeast just keeps coming. The yeast just keeps coming. And that's today's Jumpstart.